Hey guys, Christina Ritchie. If you want more pars, but you really struggle with shallowing the club on the downswing, laying this club down, instead it gets super steep, vertical, the first thing to check is your club face. Is it open? All right, so players that tend to have a lot of forearm rotation, the hands go out and away, the club head works inside, club face wide open, will tend to, with the downward force on the downswing, will tend to pull this club down, which forces the club head out. And the club face is open, so the best way to square it up is to early release. All right, because if you don't, that club face is open and you add any forward bend or side bend, that ball is going way off to the right. All right, so that's popular culprit number one. Check your club face. Is it square? All right, square would be during the takeaway, that club head is slightly pointing outside the target line. All right, that's square. This is open. All right, where that club head is pointing to the sky, and this is shut. All right, dead shut. All right, so make sure your club face is square. Next would be not moving your lower body. All right, so in the backswing, a lot of players try to keep their hips really stable and they don't turn at all. All right, so this shoulder stays on the front foot. So the minute you start down, you're already open. All right, and that pulls your hands out. All right, so if you don't turn your hips at all, you're not really making a good turn. The minute you start forward, your hands are going to be pulled out, and then the shaft gets vertical. All right, so that's a real popular one. Players are not rotating the hips during the backswing. All right, you got to get this hip to work back. All right, so once you move a little pressure to your trail side, then it rotates back. That's important. All right, we want an inclination with the hip line and the shoulder line. Where players go off is there's neither. All right, hips are level and torso can't turn. So then players end up lifting as well to try to make up for it. All right, so that's an important point. Allow the hips to rotate during the backswing. That'll help you get deeper, make a better turn, and it's going to be a lot easier to keep that club head behind the hands. All right, so make sure you're turning your hips. That's a popular one. The next one is the arms are disconnected from the torso. All right, so right out of the gate, the chest doesn't move and the arms work in. All right, they get in and collapsed and deep, well behind the torso line. And then from there, the minute you start forward, you got to try to get this club back into position. And you end up getting steep on the downswing. All right, so instead, you want to keep your arm structure in front of your torso during the backswing. All right, so you want to zip up, zip, zip. So the only thing flapping in the light breeze are your forearms. And as you take the club back, keep that connection. So your chest moves during the takeaway. The chest moves and the club moves, then the club hinges up, you complete your rotation. But you can see that the hands are in front of the torso. All right, that's an important point. The hands are in front of the torso. They're not stuck way back here, which will make you steep on the downswing. And if you're way back here, you may hook it as well. All right, so you'll just kind of have the super flat and around, and you'll have to whip your shoulders to try to make the club hit the ball. All right, so it's just not a good recipe. So make sure you're not too deep with the hands and too collapsed. Instead, we want to be here. So the lead arm is in line with the shoulder line, and your trail arm is less than 90 degrees. It's okay if it's 90, but it's no good if it's here. All right, this is no width, width. Another popular culprit why you're steep on the downswing and you're not able to add your forward bend and side bend appropriately. A lot of great players are across the line, but they can shallow it out. I find that recreational players that don't have a ton of time to practice end up just being steep. All right, so they end up being way above the swing plane. All right, so that's another reason why you're steep. So you got to really feel like the shaft is way over here if you're one that's over here. All right, you can see that my wrist is crazy cupped too. So you're going to go ahead and flatten the wrist, and that will really help you to get the club in a better position. Now let's talk about the downswing. Those are the top backswing culprits. Let's talk about the downswing itself. A lot of players are steep, primarily because they don't move the bottom half. All right, it's all upper body dominance. All right, so what ends up happening is you get to the top and the lower body's not budging, so the upper body's like, well, if you're not gonna go, I gotta go. All right, and you end up just kind of swinging right into yourself. All right, because your lower body is not budging. And I can always tell by looking at the back foot. It's stuck in cement, nothing's happening. I can see no butt cheeks. All right, so you really need to get your back foot moving. All right, and some great cues. So I like to say before you complete your backswing, start moving your pressure to the front side and get this back side to move. Focus on the back side, moving into the front one. You can focus on the foot, the knee, hip, so rotating the hip in a socket. I like to think of the foot where the heel is away, and that really helps you to get the hips turning. Where players go off is they don't do any of that. They're just like this. All right, so the club has no choice but to flip up. That's why you top it. The club will hook, pull, all right? So this is not good for the downswing. This creates steep and all sorts of trouble on ball striking. So make sure that you're moving into the ball, and that's going to help you shallow the club and get your forward bend and side bend.